All right, guys, as promised, we have the Happy Hustlers, Nina and Ernesto, on the show. We're super excited to have you on for a couple of reasons. One, you bring a tremendous amount of value to the reselling community. But the other reason is because this is your very first podcast, which is super exciting. So we're so happy to have you on. And for those who aren't aware of who you are, maybe just give us some context with who the Happy Hustlers are.
Sure. So I'm Nina.
And Ernesto.
Sounds like our YouTube intro. We are the Happy Hustlers. We are a husband and wife team of resellers. We sell on Amazon. We've sold on Poshmark, eBay, ThreadUp, Mercari.
Yeah.
We've been reselling for about 4 years now, and we do this alongside with having full-time careers.
Full-time jobs.
So we do. I always say it's not our side hustle because trust me, we do it full time as well, but we do it along with full-time jobs as well.
Yes.
So we're going to dive into all of that, but now you're obviously known as the Happy Hustlers, but going back to your content, I see that it was beachfront bargains, I believe. So what was the thought process behind that transition?
So beachfront bargains, there really wasn't a thought process with that name.
Right. We thought it was a great name when we first started. We started on Poshmark and Mercari and reselling with clothes.
Yeah.
So for us, that name brand was great. It fit perfectly with our model.
Yeah, we live near the beach, so that's where it came from.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, and that was a good name for like a retail store or something, like beachfront bargains. It rolls off the tongue,
Right.
but it didn't really encompass anything as like who we are as a brand.
Right.
So we got to the point where I was like, this doesn't make sense. Also, there's like an HGTV show that's like beachfront bargain hunts or something.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So if you tried to search us, you would never get us. You would get an HGTV show. And I was like, this has to go. Like trying to get a domain or anything with that was just terrible.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because it was all owned by like real estate companies.
Right.
So there was was it this year? It was this year when we rebranded.
So, yeah.
This is the longest year of everyone's life. So,
Yeah.
so this year we sat down and we were like, okay,
What describes us?
What describes us? And I wanted something with like alliteration, like Happy Hustlers, beachfront bargains, because it just rolls off people's tongues.
Right.
So we sat down and we thought about it for a long time, and we went off of what do people say about us, and then what would we turn that into as a brand?
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, we're always having a good time. We're hustlers, just along with everybody else in the community. You know, we're always trying to find good deals, good flips. I mean, that's just the name of the game. And just Happy Hustlers like popped one day. We were walking our dog.
Yeah.
And it just popped. Like one of us said it, and we're like, "That's it.
That's it. That's the one."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so we had a bunch of names written down. And we said that, and we were like, "Okay, we got it." So, and it wasn't taken. Yeah. Yes. I was shocked that no one owned the Happy Hustlers like Instagram name. I was like,
it is shocking, but it's also not shocking because the culture is just so, I don't want to use the word toxic, but it's just like, it's your brand of hustling is so fresh, and I love it, and I'm trying to do something similar on my end, but like it is surprising because it's a very good name, but also not surprising given the context of the hustle, like the hustle culture.
That's very true. There really aren't many happy hustlers.
Honestly, right? Like,
that's a good thing. That's a good conversation to have. I don't think that's talked about enough, and I talk about it on Instagram. But I
totally agree. And I've started some clothing. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's the whole idea behind it is work hard, game hard. So it's like I'm going to hustle and work, but I'm also going to play games and chill, and I'm going to be proud of it.
I feel like there's a lot of shame around that. Like if you're not, and we can get into this later, but we've went through some times where I was that toxic person, even. So being the Happy Hustlers now, I think is just a much better.
Oh yeah. We were seeing some old pictures the other day, and we're like, wow, things have changed from where we were to where we're at now. And it's sometimes you forget because you're always constantly moving and progressing and trying to improve yourself and your brand. And sometimes you forget where you were. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, life is a learning process, is what they say, and I think that's so true. And like even right now with me at times, and like maybe that makes sense because when I just started getting pallets of books.
Yeah. And
it's just me, and it can I'm up north and it gets cold, so I got to get these pallets out before a new shipment comes, and B before it gets too cold. So Friday all day and night, Saturday, like I don't have I'm just working, but
Yeah.
It's because I have to do it, not because I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think there's a different thing there.
Yeah. That's a big difference.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So kind of rolling along. So kind of looking through your content, it seems like you started off very heavy in clothing, but at some point made a transition to more of an FBA kind of curated business from what it looks like. I could be way off, but is this accurate? And if this is accurate, what is the driving force behind it?
Yeah. So the clothing business, right? I feel like that's where a lot of people start with reselling.
Yeah, I would agree.
It just because it's easy. It's like, oh, I can get these clothes from Goodwill and just go sell them. So we started that way. The way we actually started reselling is we started working out. This is about 4 years ago. And like my clothes weren't fitting anymore. And I was like, I paid a lot for these like fancy workout clothes. And then my friend was like, you can sell them on Poshmark. And I'm like, who's going to buy my used clothes? That's weird. I literally said that and then made a whole business around it. And he didn't even believe it. He was like, why would people do that?
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, is this a thing? Is this normal? And yeah, what she showed me is like, this is totally a normal, solid business. And I was like, wow, this is very interesting.
So we started with clothes and we were making money and it was great. But then it got to the point where I was just like, there's no growth. I can't grow anymore, like.
Especially when it's just us, kind of similar, same thing to what you said earlier, right? When you have that limited resource of yourself, and in our case, two of us, you start seeing quickly where those limitations are. And then, with a full-time job as well, we were like, there's just boundaries that we cannot pass. It's just literally this physical boundaries that we just can't do anymore.
We were working like all the time.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was from like, when we got up till like 1 a.m. every single day with the clothing business.
Right.
And it got to the point where I was like, I have no idea how to scale this. I have no idea how to scale this. We hired a VA who was doing all of our listings, which was really nice and it helped with growth. But like, he took all the photos, bless him. Because I'm really bad at it. But he was taking all the photos and it was just like, you can only photograph so much stuff in a week.
Oh yeah.
And then I would try to find the items. And I got it to the point where I was doing most of my sourcing online. I actually had someone hired who was doing sourcing and then sending packages of stuff to me. I wasn't even going to the thrift stores anymore, but it was just to the point where I was like, we can't grow this. And I had always heard about Amazon. And I feel like that's how a lot of people are. They're like, oh yeah, you can sell on Amazon, but man, Amazon is the most intimidating thing to get into.
It really is.
Yeah. And I sat there and like watched a couple of videos for a long time. And I was like, oh, this is a lot. This is a lot. And then one day I was just like, screw it. Let's just start selling on Amazon.
Let's try it.
And then I realized this is scalable. And we drug out the clothing business for a long time with the Amazon business too.
We did. I mean, because one of our big things is optimization. So we're always trying to find ways to just get more time back while keeping the process very simple. And we came up with a lot of strategies. I mean, we came with Excel techniques to like document all information, tracking of how to label every clothes. We can quickly find
templates,
send it out, our photo processing and editing process. We came up with all these different techniques, constantly improving. And I think that's kind of one of the hardest things to want to kind of give up, because we were like, man, we put so much effort into this.
Clothing,
when we were starting to get more into Amazon and understand the possibilities, we're like, this is where we need to start putting 100% of our attention now. Because there's just a lot of things that we had to come up with when we were in the clothing business. Amazon kind of already had it provided for you. You just had to utilize it. And that was a huge mind change.
I think it was April of this year when we finally kind of dumped the clothing business. We had like probably 1,500 items.
It was a lot.
And we just sent them all off to ThreadUp and said, that's it. And that was super painful. That it felt like, like that was our child. It was like, oh no, we're parting ways with this. But on the other hand, man, that was the best decision we ever made.
It did. It did. Because it's not like we're stopped selling clothes. We're just now able to focus more on the scaling side of the selling clothes business.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Because now it's not just onesie twosies. Now we can actually buy, dozens or even more, hundreds. And have a specific item, which is insanely better.
Yeah, with Amazon. Yeah. So that's how we started. And I think it just got to the point where it's just like, it was exhausting. And honestly, I know a lot of people enjoy fashion and clothes too. And that's something they get out of clothing reselling. Like, I don't care one single bit about fashion. And he cares less than me, which is, I don't even know how that's possible. So I never enjoyed like the brands and the trend side of it either. We're both nerds and like the data with Amazon. Once we understood Amazon, we were just like, this is it. Like this makes the most sense for us. Yeah.
So on May 22nd, 2019, you made a post showed one box off the FBA, 500 profit. And then by September, there was 10 boxes with 3,000 profit. So maybe just talk about that insane growth.
Yeah, that's funny. I am a crazy person. So that's a good soundbite. When I have an idea, I just full steam, like I floor it. And I think that was, and he has to live with like the consequences because I make a lot of mistakes. And there's a lot of mistakes, but we just floored it at that point. And luckily, because we had full-time jobs and we had our business for a while, capital wasn't necessarily an issue. Right. Like we had the money to put into it. And that's where that growth also came from. Because I think a lot of people see that and they go like, how did you do that? You know, I want to do that. And that's a hard answer to give, like, oh, we had the capital to invest in it already. Right. Because if you're starting a new business or if you're using your business as like your means of living off of, like, you know, it's like your income, capital is a little trickier to maneuver, right. But we weren't in that situation. So we could just floor it. And yeah, there was a lot of profit, but I mean, Instagram's a highlight reel, right? Like there was a lot of mistakes in there too.
Oh yeah, no, of course.
So, but yeah, we just kind of, floored it.
You just floored. Ideas come up, you know, she might come up with an idea and quickly we got to say, okay, how can we execute this? What are the pros and cons? How do we actually implement this? And
that's what he does. I'm just flooring it.
Yeah, so I'm here. She comes, is like, hey, what do you think of this? And I was like, okay. And then I'm like, wait a second. Okay, wait, this is doable. This is doable. Okay, here's what I think we should do. And then she'll, you know, pinpoint like, no, let's try this, and that doesn't work. And so we feed off each other really well, and just kind of really expedite these idea executables just because.
I think capital was the big thing.
That's a huge point because a lot of people listen and like from one standpoint, like you just see the result, but not necessarily everything that goes behind it. And having the capital obviously is huge, but at the same time, like you can get the capital. Like you weren't born with that money to invest in the business. So like the things you did before that led you to that point too, which is something to
that's true. Yeah, definitely.
So prior, I'm kind of just curious, prior to social media, were you reselling or did they kind of join right at the same time?
Yeah, we were reselling before social media. I always say like, I wish I would have documented like the first day I started reselling. Yeah. Because I'm jealous of people that have those like cringy memories of like,
I'm one of those lucky people. My first podcast is just me talking about how I'm going to do this.
Right. Like I wish I would have documented the beginning. Some of our beginning YouTube videos, cringe.
Rough.
But like, no, we definitely started reselling before we got into social media. I think I didn't even know this was a community until I like YouTube some things and I was like, there's all these people that have these social media platforms regarding this. And then I was like, oh, I could do that. You know, and then I was like, let me just get on social media and see what happens. And here we are.
It just grew.
It blew up.
Yeah. I mean, I made it.
I think it was like a two-way street, right? So we started like everybody else started asking the questions. What's, what can we do? How do we do this? What's the information that's out there? And I think kind of grew into, hey, we're learning this. Just want to share with you guys if you stumble upon this issue as well. And then just kind of snowball from there. I think it's just the same thing. We started learning, asking questions, and we just wanted to make sure that other people were getting that same question asked. And, we didn't expect this to be this now. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah. Do you ever think with the fact that you created this Instagram account one day with 0 followers? And then you look at it now and there's like 17 or so?
Yeah, 17 something. Yeah, I still think it's weird that anyone follows us. Like I don't know. I guess it's just like, I don't really consider myself anything other than just like a normal person, just like sharing what I'm doing. But on the other hand, I think that's what people look for. Just other normal people sharing stuff. And I share a lot, probably more than I should sometimes. And I'm just on there every day, just whatever. Like, and I think people respect that though. It's just me talking about whatever is going on. An occasional Ernesto pop up. So
was there any moments in time that really accelerated your growth on Instagram for like the attention part? Or it's just been consistent all along?
I think it was just consistency. I mean,
agree. Yeah.
I have like a thing where I make sure my Instagram story never goes blank.
Right.
Like there's always something on there. And then I try to post 3 to 5 times a week. I used to post, when I first started, I posted like 3 times a day once. Like,
yeah,
I was just trying to get on there and then interacting with people too. I mean, I know people are different about DMs, but for over a year, I answered every single DM I got. And I'm talking about giving people paragraphs of information if you just popped in and asked me a question, you know? And I think a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And I wasn't doing that to grow my social media. I was just like,
just want to help.
I'm just helping you. Like, and it also was cool to talk to people who were
interested in the same
thing. Doing what I was doing.
Because I think that's one of the you know, it's this pretty small niche if you kind of think of it as a global side or as a like over the population. So I think sometimes it's hard to talk to people about those same interests. And you know, if you're fortunate enough to have that big circle that you can talk to, that's awesome. But I know that's something that we were stumbling upon. We were starting with this. We're like, wow, what is this going on? How do we learn more about this? And as we started getting more into the social media and started seeing all these other people, I think that felt really cool. That's like, hey, look at all these people
doing what we're doing,
you know, sharing ideas. And I think that's kind of really got us excited and kept us going.
Yeah, definitely.
What's your thought on the community? Because from my perspective, so far it's polarized. You get like 2 personality types. Like, what are your thoughts?
Oh, this is a loaded question.
I know.
I think there's good and bads to everything.
True. Yes.
I think there's a lot of really great people in the reselling community that genuinely want to help people. And I think there's a lot of people that are trying to scam people and just trying to make money. But that's any community.
That's what I will say. It's almost any community. It's always going to be the good side and the bad side. And I think one of the weird things is once you start getting in these kind of circles of businesses and ideas and ways that you can do entrepreneurship, you kind of see that in different niches. You know, you see that in the reselling community,
like the YouTube ads.
Oh yeah, I mean,
for like Amazon stuff and like.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I think that's part of the problem too. Is I think the community gets that connotation associated with it, and when you have people that come from outside of the reselling community, like looking in, it looks like one big giant scam.
It actually does. Like it actually does. Like
it really does. And that's hysterical to me. But then I see those YouTube ads and I'm like, you know, well, that is a scam. They're just going to take your money and not give you anything. But I think within the community, I will say, I think there's a lot worse communities on Instagram. Most people are exceptionally nice to me, even in my DMs. Like I've never had someone call me like an ugly beep, beep, beep or anything like that, which I feel like you would get in a lot of other communities.
Yeah.
So that's definitely appreciated, but I don't know. I think there's just a lot of people that are actually willing to help each other.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I don't think you get in a lot of communities.
That's always been something I've loved about the community is when I first joined in, I posted a picture that had my store name in it and I had like 50 followers. And someone messaged me and they're like, bro, that is a bad idea. And I was like, that is so cool for you to message me and tell me that. Like, that was very nice. So I've had a lot of great experiences with reselling community. But then I also find there's like a lot of, I get like more so now than before, but people just with a lot of questions and then you answer them and then there's just like a lot of excuses. And I'm trying to like counsel myself as if am I answering these questions wrong? Like, am I not doing a good job? Because I told you could go to the Happy Hustlers. They have a list full of stuff that you could literally just go and buy. But then you told me that it's too expensive.
Sure. Okay. That's so.
Yeah. And I.
Let's go there. We're going there. We sell services, right? And that's one part of our business. And I also help people completely for free. You can scroll into my DMs and send me a message and I'll send you paragraphs of information. I'll send you resources. I'll send you YouTube videos. But there are people that I think want to do this, but don't actually want to do this, if that makes sense.
No, I get you.
They see it and they see us making money and they go, oh my God, I want to do that. I want to make money. Right. But you don't see that I've been doing this for years and I've spent a crap load of money, a crap load of time all of that stuff, investing into it. This isn't a get rich quick thing. There's no such thing as that. That does not exist.
Nope.
So I don't think a lot of people actually want to put in the effort to build the business, but they want the results.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hard things about social media. You see a lot of the results, and we try to be very transparent about some of the same things. Hey, this is a struggle, and just to kind of be that transparent. I also inspire people as like, hey, just because this went wrong, it's not the end of the world. Like, keep pushing. And I think that's kind of the hard thing, because you see all these successes, like, well, I want to get there, but there's a lot of things that go behind the scenes. You said this earlier as well on the podcast. There's a lot of things that go behind the scenes that makes that possible, and it's tough. I mean, when you stay up late, when you give up a whole weekend to make sure something happens because you need your business to proceed, that's a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't see. And the people who do, you can tell. You talk to them, and
they get it.
And it's like, oh yeah, I
understand. I think on the other side of that, and personally, we're the happy hustlers, so I don't really like getting on Instagram and like complaining or saying, you know, this is all going wrong, or I'm exhausted, or anything like that. I just don't find that to be something I want to like spread.
No, that makes
sense. But then people are like, oh, it's a highlight reel. It's a highlight reel. And I'm like, but do you want me to complain? I don't know. I don't know what's the right message.
Well, I think the right answer is just to do what you feel is right. And the people that like it will take it. The ones that don't won't.
Yeah.
And that's how we feel. Because I mean, part of the happy hustlers is like, we do, you know, things happen, but I know one of our big things is try to see things on the positive side, right?
Yeah.
It's we've learned from just both being in the business as well as being in our careers that mistakes happen, and that's part of life. And the best thing you can do is learn from that. It's like, it might have sucked in that brief moment in time, but usually most mistakes will lead to a much better results later.
Yeah. And things suck sometimes. It just
is. And sometimes you really just have to put the hard work. There is no happy answer. There is no joy. It's like, you just got to put the grind and do the work, but as long as you know it's going to be a good result at the end, you do it with a smile, and when you get there, you're like, yeah, it's actually worked.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what's one of the cool things? So they haven't released yet, but I've been having a lot of really great resellers on here. We had Amazon Lit on, talked with them. Watching me, Amazon's coming on, which is going to be crazy.
That's cool.
Just from talking to people. And there's been some other ones too. I'm just in the moment blank, and I feel bad now because they're probably going to listen to this and be like, what the hell, bro? But one recurrent theme talking to people is the same with you, is that there's a good philosophy of life where it's like basically win or learn. I'm going to win or I'm going to learn. And there is no failing, because even when I fail, I learn something. And that's something I think you guys embody as well.
Yeah. I don't even care about failure anymore. Like, if I'm not failing, I'm like, this is getting a little too easy. Like, I get, and we make so many mistakes that it just
gotta bounce with it, and it's gonna happen. Nobody knows everything, and especially as you're evolving and growing, you're just not gonna know what's gonna come out of that from both sides. And I think that's one mentality. It's like, you know, be ready for it. Like, expect something to happen, but as well as part of that is like, be accepting that something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And the big thing is like, it's gonna happen. You're gonna learn from it, and it's not gonna happen again. And you're gonna grow from it. You're gonna get more followers. Your business revenue is gonna go up. You're gonna open a different business avenue. You just never know. And I think that's kind of the biggest things about sticking with the negative side of things, is not letting those possible opportunities come. Because you're like, just keep thinking about this. But if you said, "Yep, happened. I know what's happening. I'm gonna move on," you really don't know what else is gonna bring because of that.
True. Yeah.
So we're going to hop off this topic in a sec, but one question I always like to ask is, have you had one failure that you felt almost might end it all, maybe at the beginning?
I know. You thinking what I'm thinking?
I'll let you go first.
You know, in the beginning, I think all of our failures were like super small. So they didn't bother me that much. Like, oh, you know, $100 there, $100 here. That
it wasn't bad.
It was fine. The website? Is that what you're gonna say? Okay. So we recently, we had this like really crappy Wix website. I have no problem admitting it was crappy. I paid someone like $200 to stand this website up. Because when I stood it up, I was like, I don't know what the point of this is, but I know I need to build an email list. Because Instagram, someone could hack my Instagram. Please don't do that. Someone could hack my Instagram. You never know, right? So I was like, I need to build an email list. So I had this crappy website. And then we have an Amazon beginners course. We started selling our leads list, all of that stuff off this website. And I was like, okay, we're making a lot of money on this crappy website. How much money can we make with a good website, a website where we're getting organic traffic? Because all of our traffic in the past has come from YouTube or Instagram, right, or my like 7 Twitter followers. But so I was like, let's build this actual website. And the website is great. Our website is great, happyhustlers.com, but it was a very painful transition and launch. And we paid a significant amount of money for a development team to develop it. Yes. And I think we sat there for a couple of weeks because we were up super late testing it, doing all this stuff, getting back and forth with the development team. And it was like a local company. And our business and like explaining what our website does is very hard to explain to a company because it's like, you do what? What? You sell leads? That doesn't make any sense. So that launch was so painful for us and so terrifying because we had to take all of our customers that subscribe to our leads list and move them to this new website. And we just thought we have lost a huge revenue stream if this doesn't go right. It ended up going right after a couple of weeks. But I remember we were just sitting there. I don't think we slept for a long time.
It was very stressful.
We were like, we spent all this money to invest in something and now it's really painful, but now it works great. It's completely fine. But during that moment, I think that was one of the times where we said, this is the biggest financial screw up we've ever made. But it wasn't a screw up. It was just a painful process.
And it's tough.
But that's any change, right?
That's any change, yeah.
Change is terrifying. And I think that's where we were with that. We were like, oh, my $200 Wix website worked just fine. Kind of. Wix has all kinds of issues. But that transition was...
It was scary.
It was really scary. But it works now. So it's fine. But it was... I guess it wasn't a mistake, but it felt like a mistake in the time.
Yeah, we just didn't know if, man, we should have just
stayed.
What we had, is this worth it? And it was stressful. It was stressful because you put a lot of effort into it, and then it was a big project. And I think when you do something at that level of a big project, you're just nervous. You want to make sure everything goes well. You want to try to find all the bugs. And it was just scary. It was just scary times. We spent a lot of time, but that's, I think, one of our biggest.
It wasn't a mistake though, so that's like a bad answer, but it was terrifying.
That's like a pain point though, and that's kind of the point.
Yes.
And you had to like fight through it together. Otherwise, well, you didn't really have the other option. Like, what is the other option?
Right. That's the thing. That was the biggest scare point for us. It was like, there's no other option. We had already canceled everyone's subscriptions to the old site, so we had to go with this, and we had like 10 days or something. 15 days. I don't know. It was
not a lot of sleep during those 2 weeks.
Yeah, we just looked at each other at one point and we're like I think I came on Instagram around that time and I was like, I've never been this close to just like burning it all to the ground. I would never do that, but that was as close as we had ever gotten to just being like, let's just go work our jobs. Our jobs are fine. But we didn't, and it's fine now. Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to like. Who do you even like vent to or talk to about that other than each other? Because not too many people have these websites with all these subscribers, and they're like it's just not something that's super relatable in everyday life.
No, it's not. It's. I think that's what's really hard too. Is like we have each other, and we're a great support system to each other. But like, I mean, our family. Yeah. My parents have no idea. Like my parents still don't understand. I mean, they're just older. They don't get it, It's no shame to them, but
it's just a different generation, and it's hard when you're kind of going against the normal path. I would say, right? The normal path everybody's aware of is
get a job,
go to school, get a job, and grow old. So when you try to go off a different path and you try to do your own thing, and it's hard to explain because you believe in it. You strongly believe in it. You want to make sure you do your best to succeed. And it's a great thing, but when you're trying to explain that to someone, it's like, wait, what? You're not following the traditional path?
Yeah.
What's going on here, And
it's hard to even explain like some of these problems that we're having because you have to like just go so deep into it.
Right.
It's like I'm doing this, and then people are just like, what are you talking about, And
that's what's great about the community because, there are other people going through similar things. There's or similar issues, and there are different levels. Some are the same level we are. Some are above we are. People making substantial things with Amazon, and there's people who are starting out. So there's definitely at all kinds of levels.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of connect with some of these people and say, you know, we can do this, you know? And
yeah. If other people, my motto is always, if someone else did it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm. True.
Why not? Yeah.
Have you found a good thing? Like, I still struggle with this. Like when someone says, hey, like, what do you do for a living? I'm kind of like, well, it's a long story. So like, what is your answer? Like your quick and easy answer, putting the jobs aside, because that's something that you could probably go to as well. It'd be easy just as an answer. But if someone's like, what do you do for a living? Job aside, like what would your answer be?
We don't really tell a whole lot of people. I know that's a bad answer, but I go with my full-time job because trying to
makes sense. That's what I would do.
It's like, and it sounds so sketchy.
I know. I buy things at Target that you could also buy, and I sell them to you on Amazon.
I sell them on Amazon. The closest we have to get sometimes to explaining this is our neighbors, because they see like the UPS truck and all the boxes, and
yeah, we're known in the community as the house that the UPS truck backs up into.
The truck. And they ask, and also we live in, like, I joke that we live in a retirement center. We don't, but almost all of our neighbors are 70 or older for the most part, just because it's Florida, you know. So, and I try to explain it to like our 80-year-old neighbor, Mary. Shout out to Mary. She's definitely not watching this. She does not have internet. She was like, why do you have so many boxes? And I was like, oh, we have this business. We sell on Amazon. She's never bought anything on Amazon. And then like 2 weeks later, I saw her and she was like, don't worry, I didn't tell anyone about your business. I'm like, what do you think I'm selling on Amazon? Like, you think we'd sell drugs or something? Like, this is legal. So trying to explain it to people, I mean, like I said, even our parents.
Yeah, I guess it gets difficult, and parents are probably the most difficult because, you know, you want to explain what we're doing, but it just gets into a depth that it just, people of that generation don't understand. You know, the internet's such a big boom in the last 20 years. And it's still growing. We don't even know where this is going to take us, you know?
Yeah.
And explain to a generation which hasn't had that same experience with the internet, and saying, hey, you can generate businesses now. It's not no more of a, you got to create, you know, actual store, and build a store in some corner and set it all up. You can actually create an internet business, all different varieties. Amazon is just one of them. That's hard to explain to someone.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. My short answer is e-commerce entrepreneur, and people just go,
that's a good one. Because it's like a cool thing. I just find that like people that kind of get it, that when I tell them what I'm doing, it's kind of like, oh, that's cute. That's like, good for you.
For sure.
Like, we'll see you when you get a job in a year or two. You know what I mean? So, but the people in the community, they know the potential of it. So,
for sure. Yeah. It definitely is. People, though, I think reseller has a negative connotation.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know where that came about, but it definitely has a negative connotation. So I don't say I'm a reseller. I say I own and operate, and I'm so annoying with it. I operate a 6-figure e-commerce business. Like, it's so annoying, but that people look at that like,
oh, you made it. You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
fair enough.
It's a weird question. It's a weird one.
So when did you two decide to make OA lists and other resources for people? Which by the way, I wasn't told to say this. They're extremely well reviewed. So great job on that. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
What got you into the OA lists and other resources?
So we're coming up on a year now of doing leads list. So we started that in November. This is the perfect example of me just being like flooring it, because do you remember this? My mom was here visiting.
Oh yeah.
And it was like, I don't know, like October 25th. And I was like, hey, we should do leads lists. Like, we could, you know, we're really good at sourcing. We could sell this. Like, we could sell this.
We started getting the same questions a lot. Like, I'm having trouble finding items. How do you find items? It was a very common question that we were getting. And that's kind of what started this. It's like, well, you know,
solve the problem.
Yeah, we're having success in finding items. How can we help other people find items?
Yeah. So it was like October 25th, and I was like, why don't we sell this? And I literally hopped on Instagram, and I was like, I just pitched it. Like, just off the top of my dome, I was like, would you guys be interested in this? It'd be this many items, this is the price, you know. And I put a poll on Instagram, because that's one of my favorite things to do on Instagram, by the way. If anyone's listening, you have your audience there, ask them what they want.
Agreed.
Ask them if they're interested. And if they say no, who cares? They said no. At least you know you're not wasting your time. And then you can count it too. And I counted And I was like, oh, there's a lot of people said yes, they'd be interested in this. So I said, okay, let's start this on November 1st. And he was like, it's October 25th, you psycho. And we had no idea how we were going to do it. But I mean, we were like, we can make spreadsheets. We can put this all in a spreadsheet. And then we can, you know, we had this, I went on to Wix and I was like, how to do this on Wix. And I just figured it out. Right. And then I just put Instagram swipe ups and said,
here we go.
Here we go. And we also started a Discord to go with it.
Right.
Just to get like a community, because people can ask questions in there and stuff and all of that. But we just went for it, and it's just grown ever.
It's just grown. I mean, it just took to a little more closer helping, and people appreciate it. People were, like I said, one of those questions that we kept hearing, and how do we do this? How can I expand? How can I grow it? And a lot of it was time, which we connected very well with that, just because we have full-time jobs, so we understand about the limit of time in a day. So we felt that this was something that could also be helpful for those people who they're ready to take the next steps, but they just didn't have the time to put into it.
Yeah, and it's cool. To see, because we have people, we also have like an Amazon beginners course, and when did we launch that? March. Oh, because it was when I was on my business trip. Right. We also launched that while I was on a business trip for my full-time job. Terrible idea, but here we go again with Nina just doing Nina things. But we have a lot of people who come in, have never sold on Amazon, and they'll take our course, or some people just prefer to jump into the leads list, whatever. And we'll see them go from, I make $0 to I've made 6 figures. And that's just the coolest thing to see, because it's like, I love making money, making money is really cool, but helping other people make money is cooler. There's just something about that that's like, this isn't just about me. It's like these
much better.
Yeah. And there's people that are like single moms, or they have a job and they want to make some extra money. And it's like, I don't know, it's just really cool to be able to make people's lives easier.
Right.
Serving others is super fulfilling. And I don't want to ask this question because it's like eye-rolly, but I know all the skeptics out there with OA lists, they're all thinking it. So I'm just going to ask it. Why don't you just, all the items on there, why do you share them and not just buy them all yourself?
I know Nina's answer because it's her favorite answer.
What?
Is spread the love. And her answer is always, there's plenty of Amazon for all of us.
Yeah. I went on a rant on this one day, because this is one of the negative things I get on Instagram. And it's so frustrating to me, because I know who I am and I know my intentions are good, but people see this as bad intentions sometimes. And I get that. We all come from different backgrounds and have different views of things. But people look at it as like, oh, if these leads were so good, why would you share them? Why wouldn't you keep them all? It's like, first off, how many items do you think I can buy? Like, I can't buy all of these items. I can't. That would mean I'm spending millions of dollars. Like that's not the business we're in. And 2, I just think there's so many leads. And I call Amazon the money buffet. I don't think you making money on Amazon takes away from me making money on Amazon. It's Amazon. Like, there's so much money to be made on Amazon that it's crazy.
And even more now. I guess there's numbers going out that during COVID, the pie got bigger, but the sellers didn't, the amount of sellers.
Right. And that's what's crazy is like, someone buys the course and gets the leads list and starts selling on Amazon, they're not my competition. I don't really see any competition. This is, when I explained this to my dad, he was like, why would you teach people to be your competition? And
I'm like, do that to me all the time too. And I like, you don't get like, it's no, like, I don't even know how to explain it.
It's like, I just don't see it that way. But also it's like an abundance mindset. I think there's enough for all of us.
It's just so huge. Amazon's so huge, and you can do it so many different ways. I think that's the biggest beauty of it is you can be wide, you can be very specific. If you want to focus on a specific area, clothes, toys, I don't even know, shoes. It's just, there's so many different ways that it's almost competition. It's almost impossible because it's like your business model
is not the same as mine.
My business model. We're just using the same platform to win together.
And the buy box rotates.
And it's not always the lowest price. Guys, fix your repricers out there.
Yes.
So it's just, I don't know. I don't see the world that way. So I get that some people do, that they see it as we're all in competition with each other. But I think if you have any type of social media reach or platform, you can't see it that way. because I share all kinds of free information that someone is going to take and then compete with me. I don't see it that way. I've never seen it that way.
Right.
So,
so basically you're just extremely good at sourcing and you literally can't buy it. Also share the love.
exactly. And that's the thing too, is like, we found something that we are very good at.
Right.
So, and it solves a problem for other people.
It's literally entrepreneurship 101.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
So is there a certain strategy or revenue stream that you think about that you haven't taken action on yet that you might down the road or always kind of thought about?
Oh, I mean, a couple things. One, our YouTube effort has been not so great with YouTube, but the reselling niche on YouTube pays a lot compared to other YouTube niches. And it's literally insane. It's called the, I am not a YouTube expert, but it's called the CPM, cost per milli. It's called milli. I think that's what it's called, but it's basically how much you get paid per 1,000 views. And then YouTube takes half of it because, it's Google, so they take half of it. But in reselling, it's between like $20 and $30. I think ours is like $27 or something. And in a lot of niches, it's like 5 or 10. Like ours is so incredibly high. So YouTube is something that we're
trying to expand on that. And it's one of those things where it's just been so many other parts of the business that we've been focused on. And now I think part of that optimization, the new website, making things easier for us, we're having that, again, free time to do YouTube.
And we hired.
Oh, and we hired actually a video editing company to help us, because I used to do all the video editing. I was basically zero experience to beginner experience, just because it takes a lot of effort. Video editing is difficult, and you got to be creative. You got to think of ways to cut it, and it also took a lot of time. So we're big on trying to see how can we get time back to do other things, or just even have a moment to just take a breather. So hiring a company to help edit our videos was a huge step forward for us, because now we can create the content, have experts edit it in a very professional way.
They're much better than we were.
Oh yeah.
At editing too. So
that's a big push.
I think for us. YouTube is a big one right now. And then the other thing is he is getting more into like day trading and stocks and all of that.
We've done a lot of passive investing for a while, and we've talked about that and again, Instagram. But I think now we're, like, again, back to time. We're putting a little more effort into day trading, trying to get a little bit of capitalize on some of these stock movements.
Yeah.
So I've been focusing on that a lot. And I personally enjoy it. I've always enjoyed it. I just never had a good time to sit down and put that effort into it. So I think now I've been getting a lot of that time back, and I'm enjoying it. It's going good. A lot of learning.
It's like we're getting to the point where it's like, how do we use our money to make money?
Right.
If that makes sense. And that's what trading is. So those are the big ones right now.
Oh, yeah.
Trading and YouTube. Yeah.
How do you decide who gets what role? Is it just natural? Like you just know your strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been together long enough that I know. And really the big thing is we're kind of opposites, but in a good way. In a really good way, which is really weird. She's a big picture person. I'm a very details person. And it just kind of works in a weird way.
Yeah. I like move really fast and make a lot of mistakes and just go and have no chill. Ernesto is like super detail oriented. Like he will proofread everything and be like, oh, there's a typo. And like, he catches every mistake I make. And he also keeps us from making crucial mistakes because he catches things, and he slows me down and I speed him up. I don't know. It's super weird, but it works.
Me by myself when I get nowhere, Herbo or something.
I would crash into I would run right into the wall, and he would stare at the wall like, let me measure that wall. Let me see it. And I would just run into it and get injured. So
it just works out kind of in a weird way very well. She's very go-go, and I can kind of say, yeah, that might work, that might not work. And then I can then bring an idea of like this way we do it. And then she can speed me up. So it's like, hey, there's no need to worry about this now, because that's something that we're not going to know. Kind of similar to that mistakes that we're going to make. We don't know if that's going to be an issue or not.
Yeah.
So that helps me get myself speed up as well. So, okay, we can execute to this. We're going to put this on hold until we see the results from it, and then execute to that. So it just kind of falls out just in our day to day, just because of the way we operate. You know, she thinks of a big picture. I look at the details, and then we just say, okay, what's your findings, and put it together, and boom.
We say that I'm the front end and he's the back end, like a development team. Like I'm the front end, and that's why I'm like the PR person, the person you see on Instagram, all of that, because he would.
I'll be very awkward.
And so, but like he's the one, like he does most of the leads list stuff. Like he's the expert, I would say, on that type of stuff. But yeah, we just know each other well enough to know. And I have no problem admitting what I suck at, and you have no problem admitting what you suck at. And that helps too. I'm like, hey, I suck at this. Can you take a look at this? Or vice versa. So.
And that's one of the great things you can do, especially if you're in a situation where, like us, you have at least one more person to kind of double check your work. Because it really does speed things up. You know, sometimes I get bogged in. It's like, I can't figure this out. I'll literally go over and be like, I'm trying to think about this. And she can just be like, why don't you just do this? I'm like, boom. That works. And same with her. She's been thinking of an idea and working on her head. And it's like, I'm thinking of this process. I can say, well, since we do this and that, and we can use this and that. She's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, that could actually work. So that bounce back and forth is a huge help, because it really gets us going and pushing that idea forward.
That's true. Yeah.
So for the final question, this is always great for clips and just good knowledge to have in general. What are your 3 key tips, or 2 or 1 or 5? What are your main tips for new people getting into Amazon?
Okay. First, I always tell people this. Amazon's going to suck at first. It's going to suck. You're not going to be able to sell anything. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to be super confused. That is completely normal. I think the biggest key is to give it 6 months. Give it at least 6 months of trying, because when we started, it sucked. I remember we went to Walmart the first time and we scanned like the whole store, the whole Walmart. I couldn't find anything to sell. I thought this was crap. I was like, this isn't possible. So just keep going for the first 6 months at least. I see people that quit after like a month or 2, and that just hurts me. Like, please keep going. And focus on what you, number two, focus on what you can sell, not what you can't sell. Right. I see people get super caught up in, I can't sell this, I'm gated, I'm restricted, all of this stuff. What can you sell, and go hard on that?
Yeah.
Like,
you'd be surprised. I will always say it to people. It's like, you'd be surprised what can you sell and how much money you can actually make from that.
Yeah.
When you start focusing on those items instead of what you can't. Those will come. Don't worry about it. Just focus on what you can and keep building.
Yeah, exactly. Look at the categories you can sell in. Stop scanning toys if you're gated in toys. You know you're gated in toys. Go scan sports and outdoors, or go sell books. I know you know, but selling books isn't glamorous, but you can sell them. Yeah. Focus on what you can sell. Yep. Third tip, let's see. Let's give at least 3.
Third tip.
Oh, I like talking about money. Manage your financials from the beginning. That's something that I think is really overrated or underlooked, because people just go right past it. Oh. Get a CPA, set up some type of bookkeeping software. We use QuickBooks, GoDaddy bookkeeping. Use something. Manage your money. If you're an American, save for that taxes. The IRS is going to want that check. And pay yourself. I think people get so focused on building, they don't pay themselves.
Yeah. So you made a lot of good points. So the tax thing. So I have an episode with CapForge, who is an accountant for Amazon sellers, because the taxes are a little, not overly different, but there are some nuances.
Yeah.
In Canada, I should have registered my business to charge tax much sooner, because I get all my tax back on my inventory. I didn't know that. So
yeah,
until you reach 30,000 in sales in Canada, you don't need to register. So I didn't need to charge tax on Amazon. So when people buy stuff from me, they were not paying tax, but I was paying the tax for 6 months.
That's terrible.
Had I registered, I then charge the customer tax. I get that back. But because I didn't contact a CPA or do anything like that, I just didn't know. So like they say, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is literally
especially not with financial stuff. And I think a lot of people avoid it, and then it creeps up on you when tax season comes, and you're just sitting there like,
Yeah, you go to do your taxes, and they're like, okay, so let's see your business account. And they're like, oh, that's my personal account. And you're like, I can't imagine that.
No, and here in the US too, every state has different tax laws, and it's just like, it's just a nightmare. So I always tell people, get a CPA. I know it's expensive, but my CPA cost or saves us a lot more money than she cost.
Yeah. So
I always say get a CPA and separate your finances.
Separate your finances. If you can do that early, the better, but definitely do that.
Yeah. I think that's a big one.
Well, this has been super awesome. I appreciate your time so much because you guys have literally so much going on. Like, I can't even wrap my head around it. But
this is fun.
Really appreciate your time, and I think we had fun. I think we did.
Yeah,
No, it was great. It was great. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah.